Hello, people of the internet. Today we're going to start talking about phono preamps, as I promised in some of the other videos. And today we're going to discuss the Schiit Mani. It's a well-loved phono preamp that you can hardly find any negative things said about it online. So maybe you think my title might be clickbait. Well, strap in, because it's definitely not. I read somewhere online that wanted to redesign the Mani, but they just somehow couldn't figure out how to do it. So if anyone from is watching, pay attention, get out your notepad and write some stuff down. Originally, I meant to film a video where I compared multiple sub 200 moving magnet and moving coil phono preamps. But as I got my thoughts together after doing some of it, I decided this needs to be its own review. Why? Well, you'll find out. So I tried this out on two systems. One is a moving magnet system consisting of a Fluance RT-82 into an Emotiva TA-100 that has a built-in phono preamp. Into Cambridge Audio Minx XL speakers. The other system, the moving coil system, is comprised of a VPI Scout with a Denon DL-301MKII cartridge that is normally plugged into a Hagerman Bugle2 phono preamp, into the Nobsound tube preamp, which there's a review of, into the Schiit Vidar, which also there's a review of, into KEF R300 speakers. When I first got this, I decided to start with the moving magnet system. And the Mani has a series of dip switches on the bottom. There's two sets of two, so for four in total, where you can load the gain, and then one set of two for loading. When I pulled it out of the box, if you want to see those, they are there. Gain 1, gain 2, loading. So when I pulled this sucker out of the box, I'm like, okay, we're going to be using it for moving magnet, so we're going to want this on low. So I put everything on low, and then I put the load to 57k ohm for both of these, which is not what it's set to now, but you have to use your imagination for that, I guess. And I plugged it into the CD input, which is just an RCA input of the Emotiva TA-100. And the first thing I noticed was, wow, it's not as loud as the onboard preamp. And so I'm like, well, maybe I have the loading messed up. So I went to gain 1 and I put those on high. And then I tried again and I was like, whoa, that's way too high. So I put it back on low and I'm like, I guess that's what it is. So I did my tests, and after the test, it still didn't sit well with me that this just didn't sound good. Like, it was very low compared to the onboard preamp. And so I decided to do what all men do in these circumstances, where they have no explanation of how something is misfunctional. Misfunctional, is that a word? Malfunctional? Seems a little bit extreme. Where you have a product that's not working properly, you consult the manual, which you probably should have to begin with, but you know what? We're adventurous. And so it turns out, at looking at the manual, that with everything on low is a useless 30 dB of gain. 30 dB. I don't know any cartridge that would use a 30 dB gain setting. That's awfully low. And so that leads to the question of, okay, well, when I put it to gain 1 on high, what was that dB rating? Well, that's 48 dB, which is maybe good for some of your higher output moving coil cartridges. where it's not quite as high as a moving magnet cartridge, but it is still higher than your normal moving coil. Okay, so that's not right. So then I read further, and to get where you want to be, which would be 42 dB of gain, you actually have to adjust gain 2, which seems really stupid. And you got a couple of things that seem really dumb. First off, like, okay, I get it. I'm the dummy who didn't read the manual. I get that. So I deserve to have my time wasted. That's fine. But, however, they also designed something that is counterintuitive. Your intuition would say that your lowest settings would be for moving magnet, but it wasn't. And then your next intuitive thought would be, okay, well then gain 1 would give you the next step up in gain, but it doesn't. It gives you a higher step up in gain than gain 2, which is the one you need to choose. So at the very least, they should rename gain 1 gain 2 and gain 2 gain 1. Or better yet, get rid of the 30 dB setting altogether, because that's stupid, and actually go higher than 58 dB of gain for your moving coil. But we'll get to that later, because, oh yes, I have a lot more to talk about. So I finally get it loaded or I get the gain setting right. And I plug it in, and okay, so now it's louder than the built-in preamp, because 42 is a little bit louder than you might want necessarily, but it's fine. The sound is decent. It's good. It's a little bit it's a smidge more balanced and a smidge more clear than the onboard preamp, but not light years ahead of it. If you have a TA-100 and you're thinking about buying a Mani to replace it, thinking you're going to get something hugely different than what you have, it's going to be better, but I don't know if it's going to be 100 and whatever they charge for this guy after shipping and tax. It's like about $150. I don't know if it's that. But it's good. If you had nothing at all, it would be a good phono preamp, just assuming that you read the manual and understand how the dip switches work. So, perfectly reasonable to buy for moving magnet. Here's where I get super annoyed. Most standard specs for moving coil preamps is 60 dB of gain and 100 ohms of load. This guy, as we said, I said, 47, which is, I don't know, really weird. I don't know any cartridges off the top of my head, and I'm sure there must be some. I can't say that the number is 0, but it's definitely not as common as ones that use 100 or more ohm of loading. Why they chose 47, I have no idea. However, even though that Denon cartridges, even the popular ones of like the Denon, the DL-103, the 103R, my 301MKII, they all require at least 100 ohms. They usually sound best around like 300, 400-ish. Something over 100 though. Despite that I already knew that it wasn't going to sound as awesome as I wanted it to, I tried it anyway, and I was shocked by the results. What I got was unlistenable music. The sound was incoherent. Anytime the music got loud, everything got super hazy. The Mani just sounded like it was underpowered, and it sounded like it was struggling all the time. It was essentially unusable for a moving coil cartridge. Well, at least one that requires something that's not 47 ohm. So not wanting to be defeated by this thing, I ordered some parts and built this. What is this? You plug in from your turntable into this. You plug this into the input of your phono preamp. And now you can swap in resistors to do your own loading. So you don't have to worry about the engineers and what they decide is going to be sufficient for your loading of your cartridge. Now you can do it yourself. It's completely ridiculous and stupid and annoying that you have this big thing. It's completely unnecessary, or it should be unnecessary if people engineered their products properly. That would be great. So what did I hear after I did this? Well, it sounded like a real moving coil preamp, which was fantastic. There was actually bass punch. There was, the lack of power was gone. And I could actually hear what the preamp sounded like. And the preamp sounded pretty good. If it had more loading options, I would think this was a really decent setup. It's not the best imaging or soundstage that I've ever heard out of a phono preamp, but we're talking well less than $200. The highs are a little splashy and sibilant in times, but again, at the price range, it's a contender. Now, if you're assuming that I got a bad one, that this guy happens to be bad, well, I actually bought two to make sure that that wasn't the case. And in fact, it wasn't. I got the same exact results out of a different one. And in fact, I was actually able to replicate the issue with the Emotiva XPS-1 that I think has a 50 ohm load option. And it sounded the same. It has same lack of low end, same incoherent sound, same haziness. And so if you have a Denon cart or any cart that requires more than 47 ohms of loading, which again is going to be most of them, this is unusable. This is unusable as a moving coil cartridge. For moving magnet, it's fine. Moving coil, you're going to probably want to buy something else. I even got into an argument with someone on Facebook, on a Facebook group, who said when someone asked about, I have a Denon cartridge, will the Mani work? And someone said yes, and I said no, it won't, because I've tried it and it doesn't work. And they said, well, all you need is a step-up transformer. A step-up transformer will work with any moving magnet cartridge, phono preamp. So you don't even need this, like the fact that it's moving coil on top of moving magnet is irrelevant to that. So that's not really an answer. It's not going to work with a Denon cartridge. It's just not. If you need it to work with a Denon cartridge and you want to sound good and you want to spend this kind of money, look at something else. I will give you some other options in another video. But this just isn't going to work for most people. This won't work for me. I mean, this is a fun little project to make, but it's not something I want to actually run in my stereo system. And if you think I'm just hating on keep in mind, I have a Vidar that I enjoy, and I actually have two other products on order from them. My problem is that they're selling this as a moving magnet, moving coil preamp, and to me, it's just a moving magnet with maybe moving coil, maybe. Again, the amount of cartridges that this loading is actually going to work for is so slim. You're almost certainly going to be disappointed, especially if you're buying this thinking like, okay, well now I have a moving magnet cart, and like eventually I want to move up to a moving coil cartridge. this will be able to grow with me. It almost certainly will not. You got to fix this. I don't understand how it went to market like this. I don't know why it hasn't been fixed yet. I mean, they've been making this thing for, I don't know, I couldn't hazard a guess. I believe it's been at least 10 years that they've been making this. And no, they haven't addressed these issues. It's kind of shocking to me. But, I mean, all in all, with the proper loading, it's a decent sounding moving coil preamp. And it's a fine sounding moving magnet phono preamp. So buy it, but buyer beware, I guess. Maybe I'm going to have to change the name of this channel to The Angry Audiophile, because I have some other less than happy reviews to come out. This might be the worst of the angriness in terms of, wow, this thing just doesn't work like you would expect it to. But project, I call it project. I don't know if that's right. People say it all kinds of different ways. There's a recurring theme with my channel where I don't know how to pronounce the things that I'm going to be talking about. What are you going to do? I'm looking at you guys, project. We're going to discuss that when I talk about tube phono preamps. But yeah, I don't know. If you want to see any other Angry Audiophile videos, subscribe. If you like me being angry, click on that thing. If you don't like me being angry, click on that thing. If you think I'm an idiot, put it down in the comments down there and say, hey, moron, why are you mad at them? You bought it. You should have known those were the specs when you bought it. And it's true, I did. But not everyone's going to know that they might have a raw deal. So, yeah. Till next time, have an awesome day.